What's up guys, LeopoldTheBrave here, and last week we got to play the Crash Team Rumble beta. It was loads of fun. In fact, some of the most fun I've ever had in a video game, which is saying a lot considering it was just a beta. It was so much more enjoyable than I was expecting, and I wasn't even one of the doubters. I am very excited for the full release. Now when the game comes out, it's going to start growing and growing, and people are going to discover new tactics, which characters are good and which characters aren't, and a whole meta for the game will start to develop. Now, although Toys for Bob are focusing on fun instead of the competitive aspect, which is good, they are still open to the idea of an esports side of things for Crash Team Rumble, so I figured why not make a video getting a head start. I was somehow able to get in around 30 hours with this beta before it ended, so here's who I believe to be the best characters from top to bottom. S-Tier. The very best character in Crash Team Rumble from the beta is Dr. Neo Cortex. And it makes sense, right? He's the highest difficulty character. Of course you should be rewarded for your hard work. His kit is actually insane. Now in Crash Team Rumble, any character can perform any task. They don't have to follow their assigned role. But Cortex is the only character so far that can do any role great. Naturally, Cortex is a booster, able to capture gem pads very fast and pick up lots of relics thanks to his incredible mobility. He has a pretty high double jump and 2 horizontal dashes, all of which can be used in a single leap. With him being so fast, he's also able to be a decent scorer despite his low Wumpa Fruit capacity. His dash completely smashes through crates, and I found I was filling my Wumpa capacity with him less than 10 seconds into the round starting. His dash does damage to enemies too, aiding him in being an incredible blocker. But aside from the dash, Cortex also has a ray gun that can do pretty decent chip damage. It'll also track and follow your enemies if they're close enough when you're firing. It's great for going after opponents who are distracted while attacking your teammates. But you can absolutely be offensive with your ray gun too. You don't have to play defense or support. Because Cortex also has the ability to temporarily transform his opponents into tiny harmless animals. When you transform an opponent, they can't attack you. They get pushed back a lot easier and take way more damage from your dash. And on top of all of that, Cortex can just drop pianos from the sky. It's pretty difficult to aim and target properly, but if it lands, it's nearly a one-hit KO. All of this combined makes Cortex an absolute monster. He's not a pick-up-and-play character, but once you finally learn how to use him correctly, you can take down entire teams of Dingodiles by yourself. Second place on the tier list is Crash Bandicoot. Now, Crash is obviously who the entire game is built around, his movement and the way he controls. I don't think he's going to remain S-tier for long. He's very likely the middle ground, the default point that every other character that gets added is going to have their balance based on. Crash has a very basic but effective kit. He's an excellent scorer, of course, as collecting Wumpa and bouncing on crates is his thing. He's a pretty good blocker too. His spin does decent damage, his slide can toss people away, and his body slam can incapacitate foes for a second or two. However, as a booster, I'd let someone else on the team handle that role. I don't know why, but it never seemed like I could get enough relics with Crash. He travels the map well, of course, they're centered around his platforming and controls, but he's just not quite speedy enough and doesn't have any extra unique mobility options like Cortex's dashes. Like I said, as the game goes on and more heroes get added, he'll likely move down to the center of the tier list instead of remaining at the top. But for now, he's definitely still the second best. A tier. The third best character in the Crash Team Rumble beta was Coco Bandicoot. Now at first glance, it seems like she'd be better than Crash. She can do everything he can do, but is also way faster and has way more health. However, Crash Team Rumble is a team-based game, and those advantages only really serve herself, not the rest of her team. She's a booster, so she has a low Wumpa Fruit capacity, and she doesn't have an explosive dash like Cortex to just destroy everything. So she's not much of a scorer, and despite what her high health and speed would lead you to believe, she's not too strong in combat either. If you catch her off guard, she does have the tools to defend herself and the mobility to get away, but if she's the one coming after you and trying to take your Wumpa, you won't have too hard of a time fending her off. She may take a little while to put down with how high her health is, especially if she has a healing fridge with her, but she'll take just as long trying to put you down as well with how weak her attacks are. So no blocker role for her either. Still though, she does her booster job very well. With her agility and speed, she's no doubt the superior booster between her and Cortex. It's just a shame she can't multitask like him. The fourth best character is Tawna Bandicoot. She's pretty good at all 3 roles, but she has some major weaknesses. She has maximum Wumpa Fruit capacity and great movement, which makes her a good scorer. With her grappling hook able to carry her so far and helping her traverse the map so well, she makes for a great booster. And she's incredibly powerful in combat, making her a great blocker. But as for her weaknesses, she's tied with Cortex having the lowest health in the game. But unlike Cortex, she doesn't have any good getaway options. Her grappling hook is great for traversing the map, but it has too long of a startup time. It won't be helping you get away from any competent players. Then there's her short attack range. She's great in combat, but only when she's the one who starts it. With how low her health is, she just isn't able to defend herself well if she's caught off guard. Tawna may be a scorer, but it's so rare when she lasts long enough to collect maximum Wumpa Fruit and make it back to the bank, making her too high risk, low reward. I honestly felt like she worked better when I played her as a booster. I think she might be misrolled. Now, her low health weakness can be remedied by the healing fridge power. But the fact that you'd have to choose that specific power to keep up with the rest of the cast instead of choosing whichever power you want should say a lot. C-Tier. That's right, we're skipping B and going straight to C. All the previous characters have either been good or pretty good. None are just average. However, this 5th place hero, Dingodile, is slightly below average. That's not to say he's terrible or anything, he just needs some buffs. Now, at the start of the beta, he was actually quite a nightmare for most people, especially when combined with the Gazmoxian Guard. But by the end of just the first day, people were already figuring out how to counter him, and by the end of the beta altogether, he was seen as a complete joke. Now, he's not entirely helpless, he has some really good tools, like his charged up spin. It's a very powerful move. And his vacuum suction-y air blower thingy is able to suck in plenty of Wumpa Fruit from his opponents caught in its range. However, he's a bit too slow to make use of them. His charge spin gets cancelled out if he gets launched, and most characters have the movement options to get out of range of his suction. His low speed also affects how he travels the stage, making him a lousy scorer and booster. And when you combine that with him being much too slow to chase down his opponents and fight them offensively, his only real choice to play effectively is to just camp at the enemy bank. But with Crash and Coco being able to flatten him with a body slam and Cortex being able to turn him into an animal, even that's a bit of a struggle for him. Even when Dingodile is facing just one person at a time, it's still a coin toss at who will come out on top. So if just one other opponent comes in to help their teammate against the Dingodile, that dingo's toast. And even when you're doing an incredible job as Dingodile, blocking isn't enough to win games or carry your team if they're falling behind, unlike the scorer and booster roles. I mean, look at this, I got 13 KOs and denied 1000 Wumpa in this match. You'd think I'm the best Dingodile ever, but we still lost by over 900 Wumpa. I never saw a single Dingodile as the top performer of a match, and more often than not, our team's Dingodile would bring in 0 Wumpa Fruit. Now, I know it's not his job to bring in Wumpa Fruit, it's his job to block opponents from bringing in their Wumpa Fruit. But when every other character can do that just as well, or even better in Cortex's case, it's not great. So, what do I suggest? Well, Dingodile's movement speed makes total sense, that shouldn't be changed. His attack speed, however, it needs an upgrade. His charge spin should take less time to reach maximum power. His vacuum should have larger range to make up for the fact that it's slower than everyone else. And I think when he's at high health, he shouldn't be moved so easily. Then when he's near death, he can start getting flung around. But let me know what you guys think. Who do you think was the best and worst character in the Crash Team Rumble beta? And who are you excited to play in the future? Leave your answers and I'll be sure to check them out in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys next time. LeopoldTheBrave, out.